Update: I live below a cult leader and I fear I've angered her. For those who are familiar with my unsettling neighborly encounters, I have a mix of both terrifying and, somewhat, encouraging updates to share. On Monday, my super came to re-plaster my bedroom ceiling. First, he said that my neighbor told the contractor she has a lot of plants because she makes bush medicines. She's also told him that dancing is a part of her professional practice as a healer for people who are in bereavement after the loss of a loved one. So my friend and I weren't far off when we made the connection between her ecstatic dance and compassionate death affiliations. I showed him new cracks in my living room ceiling that are growing in size and number by the day. He told me to send videos of the cracks to building management, but management suggested I start with a handwritten note by their door explaining how their behaviors are wreaking havoc on my life. Since the super was working in my apartment, my neighbor was actively bumping music plus jumping. I wrote a note in which I requested she reduce the volume of her music and be mindful of the intensity of her activities. I explained that the jumping or dancing was causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling, and I offered for her to speak with me directly if needed. While I was reluctant to suggest this, I knew she might try another stalking trick if I didn't give her the option up front. So, I sent the note. After 90 minutes, my super said he had to leave for an hour while the plaster dried, but he would be back soon. Of course, my neighbor chose the end of this time frame to come down, when I was alone. When I opened the door, she again had the biggest fake smile and said, "Hi," then waved the note. "First of all," she said, "I want to thank you for your open communication. That is so important and so rare in our city." Fake flattery. She admitted that she dances, which she has to do for her mental health. But she claimed that she only dances in the mornings for 30 to 60 minutes, 90 minutes max. I knew she was lying, so I said that her actions are affecting my mental health. She followed up with a range of excuses, including that they have been in the process of rearranging furniture, unpacking boxes, and they sometimes watch movies in the evening with their loudspeakers. I showed her the cracks that were immediately visible from the doorway area. She pointed to one and said, "See, we used to have one table over there, but now we have two due to the furniture rearranging. So maybe that's the reason? We also have cracks in our ceiling and, we all have to share this space." I asked her about hosting any large events in the past month, which she flat out denied. She briefly mentioned that she does sessions, but didn't elaborate further. The following suggestion, I later realized, was entrapment. My neighbor said she would give me her phone number, go upstairs, lower the volume, then I should text to let her know if I could still hear it. Thankfully, my super came back while she was in the process of sharing her contact information. She immediately tensed up, quickly gave the number, and then scurried off. As she passed my super, she randomly blurted out, "We're best friends now," referring to me and her. My super and I are both very aware of the antics, so of course he didn't buy that manipulation tactic. I texted her that I couldn't hear the music now, to which she responded, "So glad to hear that. Thanks again for opening a line of communication, I'm always happy to chat. Hope you have a lovely day." Prayer hands plus a heart emoji. In retrospect, I think she wasn't playing the music at all. I also felt like our conversation was riddled with gaslighting, misdirection, and flat-out lies. I was somewhat confused, but I know what I've been experiencing and have plenty of evidence to prove it. Within hours of our conversation, my neighbor started up the loud music plus dancing as if nothing happened. I was furious. I took new audio recordings and immediately emailed building management with my new evidence, footage of the ceiling cracks, along with a photo of my note. I explained that my neighbor was kind, though somewhat misleading, and expressed interest in accommodating my requests. I also said her behaviors were continuing as normal despite the false claims that she would take my experiences into account. The building manager said to keep her updated, but it was clear she assumed the situation would be resolved on its own. Nope. My neighbor continued with the incessant bass-heavy music plus jumping shenanigans the next day, and the day after. I continued to document everything. On Wednesday evening, I went out for a quick errand and again was a victim of the stalking tricks. She ran into me as I was entering the building, waited until I passed her on the stairwell, and then spoke up. She acknowledged that I've probably still been hearing her activities the past couple days, and that I will continue to hear them for the next few days, all due to rearranging furniture. She said the coffee table had been sold that day. Not true, I was working in my living room all day and would have heard such a commotion in the stairwell. I said yes, I've been hearing her loud and clear. Shortly after this in-person encounter, my neighbor went on to host a party. I heard people in the stairwell who seemed unfamiliar with whose apartment they were even visiting, and one guest introduced herself as a friend of someone else. While the music was much lower, the group began running back and forth overhead. Hearing these strange activities without the music was somewhat creepier than with the music. I took more recordings, then retreated to my bedroom, but of course, the group decided to migrate to their patio, right above my head again. By 10:30 p.m., I had enough. They were no longer dancing, but the group's chatter along with ethereal music, a female soprano singing vocalizations, was too much. I sent her a text. I explained that I understand she has every right to host guests in her space, but I was perturbed by the way she'd said to my face that any excess noise I might hear in the coming days was from rearranging furniture. I said I could hear music and conversations very clearly, as the noise filters through my AC unit. I also said to please let me know if they will be hosting events in the future so I'm not caught off guard. While my neighbor didn't respond that night, within minutes of my sending the message, the group began to sing the happy birthday song in the most somber way I've ever heard it sung. I was able to record the second half of it. They sang in a monotone, and there was no clapping, cheering, or any standard signs of merriment that occur after singing the song. The following afternoon, my neighbor sent me a wall of text, in which she continued to lie. She said that the gathering was very small, only 4 friends, so it didn't even cross her mind to let me know when she saw me earlier. She also said it was the first time they had hosted more than 2 people over this entire year. I honestly had to laugh at that. She said when she first saw my text, they lowered the music volume and told the friends to quiet down. So, she admitted that she saw my message, but made no mention of any birthday affair. As for the furniture rearranging, she explained that it's been part of a longer-term project, and added more lies like how they had just received a dining table and bookshelf they'd been waiting on for 8 months. Not only would I have seen such large packages in the stairwell, but also why share so much irrelevant information if being truthful. Finally, my neighbor said that they will be hosting 2 more events next week, another small gathering of 4 friends next Wednesday in honor of her partner's birthday and a larger gathering on Friday again for his birthday. Like I said, she made no mention of singing happy birthday the night before. Who would host 3 birthday parties over 2 weeks? It was all false. She followed up 5 minutes later with a second text that explained she was late to respond because she's been in back-to-back sessions. So, I finally had written evidence of her talking about these sessions. I didn't respond to the text. I refused to engage her or her partner any further. They continued to play music and stomp around that evening, but I had my BF and a friend over who heard everything and validated me that all of this is absolutely maddening. On Friday, I finally called my building manager to explain everything. She needed to understand that something very strange and potentially dangerous is going on above me. Thankfully, I was finally believed. It turns out my building had no idea that she was running some form of a business and hosting group events. I thought they at least had a vague awareness. The building manager said they would get the attorney involved ASAP to review their lease contract and pursue action. She asked for all my evidence, including written communications, a personal written account of verbal communications, audio recordings, and footage of ceiling damage. I've been taking videos of the ceiling cracks over the past few weeks to demonstrate how quickly they're growing. I made a Google folder that divided each category, dated every piece of evidence, and sent. I was so relieved. It felt like some form of action was finally in motion. I assumed the building attorney was working on a case against them over the weekend, so I ignored their relentless music plus jumping. But today, Sunday, my neighbors have been hosting yet another gathering since 11:30 a.m. I've been hearing heavy bass, sporadic jumping, and chatting on their patio for going on 7.5 hours now. While I've continued to collect my evidence, I decided to wait until tomorrow to check in with management. Around 5 p.m., I was quietly sitting on my couch when out of nowhere I heard the door open from above, someone jogged down, and then pounded on my front door. I didn't move a muscle. The person on the other side waited for about a minute. I thought I heard keys jingling, and then they slowly retreated back upstairs and shut the door again. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on now. The music plus jumping increased after the knocking incident. Maybe they were testing if I was home? But I'm rattled by how I'm feeling watched when I'm minding my own business. At the same time, I want to keep laying low to protect myself. I still have very little information about this group. They're clearly escalating, 3 events planned within 1 week, despite added pressure from everyone around them. In the meantime, I edited a new video with my recent recordings, including the creepiest happy birthday of all time, footage of the living room ceiling damage, audio recordings from the gatherings. Whenever my neighbors succeed in making contact or I'm notified about a solid resolution, I will update the post. Please don't comment with remind me notifications. But to whoever is listening, thank you for supporting me during this insane neighborly crisis. Once it's all over, I hope I never have to meet these 2 quacks again. Audios plus new ceiling damage, https://u2.b/906kzjt2ga. TL, DR, I confronted my neighbors, thought things were getting better because the building attorney is now involved, but they just tried pounding on my door in the midst of hosting a dance gathering for 7.5 hours and counting. ETA, an update on the attorney letter aftermath, hopefully the last, is available on my account.